Okay, so that was just a nice little inspirational picture with the theme of mountains that we're going to talk about today, and it just basically symbolises challenges in life. Next slide, Aidan. So that was just a little summary. We've kind of touched on it. We set the charity up in 22nd November 16 with the mission to be a global source of online information and help parents and children that are affected by Sydenham's Chorea. With the help of many friends and family, we've raised significant sums through various different events over the years, and we've also worked with the medical profession and looking at various different types of surveillance research, because it's very keen. We're all very keen to learn as much as we can, because we all agree it's a rare disease and we want to get it eventually a cure. So that was a little bit about the charity. Adrian? That's it. Okay, so I'm also a founding trustee of the charity back in 2016, and was the chair at the very beginning until Adrian came on board, and we all felt that was a fantastic addition, because he'd obviously got the medical professional experience, but he'd also had experience with Ruben. So I'm 54, I'm Callum's dad. We live in Glasgow with my wife Samantha, and Sam is the treasurer and also a founding trustee of the Sydenham's Chorea Association.
So hi everyone, I'm Callum Samuel, and I'm 19-year-old. Currently I'm at University of Strathclyde, so that's me just going into my second year. By the end of May, that'll be me third year as well, so who would have thought? I was diagnosed with Sydenham's when I was 7. So you're obviously very young at the point in time when I was diagnosed, so you don't, especially when in 2010 there wasn't a lot of information for young families or for families in general. So I've always been quite fit and active throughout my whole life, so I still play amateur football weekly at the weekends with my local team, Busby. And the theme of this PowerPoint is mountains, so just added that in at the bottom. I love to climb mountains, so that's us.
Yeah, so I'm just going to take some time just to share my experience, basically tell our family story, with looking back before Sydenham's, during Sydenham's, which, there was a 3-month intense period similar to what Ruben went through, and then a brief discussion of after, and there was various recurrences also. But the overall goal of today, from Callum and I's perspective, is to give, as I say, parents and children that are currently going through this some hope and inspiration that it might be a terrible experience for them right now, but it will get better. So, as I say, we've used this challenge of symbolism on mountains and overcoming personal challenges, and there is no doubt that that 3-month period was exceedingly challenging for me as a father. But the overall goal is that the future will be bright and it's full of opportunity, and Callum's good testimony for that. So, well, just back one, Adrian, sorry. Yeah, so, well, Callum was born April 2003. He had a very normal childhood. We can only think of one instance when in his life up to that point where he was ill. And it was when he was about 6 months old. And I must admit, it was a very kind of harrowing experience for Sam and I, but we had no idea what it was. And he seemed to bounce back fairly quick. But at the time, we were very worried, and I'll come back onto that later. Callum had lots of friends, family round about him. He loved nothing more than playing football. We were very fortunate where we lived at the time that there was lots of kids round about us, all at the same age. So, his childhood was idyllic for him. He loved it. And as Callum says, he now plays amateur football. I got into hill walking in 2009, purely as a way of getting fit. So it was quite late in life doing that. And Callum had sort of watched that happening and said he'd like to do it. So the date I'll always remember was Sunday the 13th of June. It was a 7-mile hike. It took him 5 hours to get up with his wee legs, but he did it. and just recently did it in 2.5 hours. So it was a big difference from 19 to 17. So that was really the kind of a point in our life where we thought, well, there you go. There's a boy that's very, very fit. And then we went on holiday at the end of that month, and he started to become unwell and quite distressing. And we took him to a doctor on holiday, and the doctor diagnosed tonsillitis. So we thought, well, that's fairly common. Took some antibiotics, and everything should be fine. But it sort of drifted on a little bit longer than we would have liked. So when we came back a holiday, we took Callum to the Victoria Hospital in Glasgow, and they again confirmed it as tonsillitis, take more antibiotics. So then a couple of weeks on, by this time it's now sort of mid-July, and we took Callum and his sister and a couple of Callum's cousins to bowling in a local place, got a bite to eat, everything was great. And we noticed that Callum just fell over really, really awkwardly. And we couldn't understand what it was. And I could tell by looking at Callum's face that he was as shocked as us. But he bounced back up, and okay, well, don't know what that was about, but he moved on. Then on Saturday, the 24th of July, 2010, Callum came into Sam and I's room, and he was talking away to us, and he thought he was talking absolutely normally, but it was complete gobbledygook. Nothing was coherent at all. So we were exceedingly anxious. Took him straight into York Hill Hospital in Glasgow. Thankfully, we are quite lucky that York Hill is only about 6 miles from our house. It's one of the main children's hospitals in Scotland. They then did it was absolutely mobbed, the place, as you can imagine. Saturday, full of lots of kids, various different things happening. But they kind of ran a triage, and very quickly Callum was taken. And I remember saying to Sam, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but either way, he's getting the attention that he needs. And in a way, that was probably a good thing that we were in York Hill, and we've experienced that from talking to other parents in the past, where it took them a long time to get the actual diagnosis, because York Hill had experienced 2 or 3 other cases fairly recently. They were quite confident that this is what this was, so they took blood tests, various tests, kept him overnight. We then came back into the hospital on the Wednesday. It was a Dr. Beattie, if I remember, and Dr. Beattie was excellent with Callum, and explained what was going on. So at that point, the test results had shown that he had a strep A infection that had led to rheumatic fever. Keep me right if I'm doing this in the right order, and then that had obviously then had a byproduct and caused a sort of brain injury with Sydenham's career to there. And you can imagine us as parents going, wow, what is going on here? So then he came out with, well, we'd like you also to see cardiology. And I thought, a minute, thought we were talking about the brain. Now we're on the heart. And this is a complication of rheumatic fever. So very quickly, he got all the heart tests by Dr. Knight, I believe, and it was found that Callum had 2 leaking valves, and that was causing regurgitation. So, we went from a healthy boy a number of weeks ago to a young lad with a brain injury and heart damage. So we were completely shell-shocked, didn't know what was happening. Callum then started to have complications with behaviour, and various different things started to happen. And at that point, the decline was quite rapid. And I say that was the kind of real 4 weeks where he couldn't, like Ruben, he couldn't walk, talk, eat. We were trying to take him in and out of hospital. Travelling was becoming a real challenge. He was getting very upset, very emotional. So it ended up, he get taken into hospital. I think he was in for about 4 to 6 weeks. So we were basically watching this fit young lad just deteriorate in front of our eyes. We were autopilot, it was all a bit of a blur. But then we started to see all the specialists. It was unbelievable. It was a full team. So you were very confident that everybody was on this. And then Dr. McLeod, Dr. Zaveri, then explained to us that Sydenham's Chorea is caused by a brain injury in the basal ganglia. This was all news to us, even what that was. But he described it to me as it's like a little motor going on in the brain, and it's instead of switching off, and it should switch off, it's continually going, and that's what's causing the involuntary movements, which you see in Sydenham's Chorea. So, oh my goodness. So then, what I do remember at that point was he said, look, this is one of the few brain injuries that you can make a full recovery from. So that's all I wanted to hear. And at that point then, it was just a matter of time. And so we constantly reassured Callum that everything's going to be all right. We felt positivity is a really good thing for him. He just needs to feel that he is going to be okay.
Yeah.
And eventually we started to see some shoots of recovery appearing. And probably the greatest thing I've ever seen was when he started to walk again. And within really quite short period of time, 1 or 2 weeks, he was out the wheelchair. Callum will tell his wee story about Silverburn shopping centre, and then on the 13th of September, I even took him to Ibrox to see Rangers, which he loved. And then that was really the end of that three-month challenging period. And then it went on to the next phase, which is like obviously life after Sydenham's, and I believe I think he had 3 or 4 recurrences. So it probably started from about 2010 to 2012, 13 at the latest. And they did say at the time when we were asking about it that we don't really know, we can't say it for every child, but you know, we are confident that in a couple of years everything will be great, and that was the case. He took sodium valproate, Epilum, and I think that helped with the basal ganglia. I think it's trying to slow things down. Then, as recurrences happened, we went back up and on and off the Epilum. So
The Epilum wasn't good either. Didn't like that.
no, he didn't like that. So I think he put on a little bit of weight as well, and
Yeah,
you know,
I think it's
was obviously
eating a lot more at that point as well.
Yeah.
Because of the Epilum. So
And one little thing, when we during that period, it was one of the doctors did say, he said, look, we are very confident that Callum must have had a strep A infection before. And that's when I'm coming back to the start of my chat where, you know, when he was a baby, and it's the only thing that we can think of. But we don't really know, obviously, but that's the only time in his life I think he was ill. So yeah, it was a tough 3 months. But as I say, the purpose of this is to sort of show that this young man's completely healthy, very, very good. He's got on with life. School had challenges, but he dealt with it, and it's showing that he can get into university. He's doing really well. So the future is bright, and you know, hopefully it's going to help other kids that there's still lots of opportunities out there.
yeah.
Okay, I'll let Callum say a few words.
Hi everyone. So I'm just going to read this for you. So I was diagnosed with Sydenham's when I was 7 years old. At the time, I think I don't remember like seeing my dad's experience. I don't remember a lot of detail in that horrible 3 months because I think you're just going through the motions. You're just trying to get to the next day. So I think what I do remember, most of my sort of experience from the tough 3 months was all sort of positive things as well. And it's funny how the brain works when you're going through the worst moment of your life and you can just think of a positive side to it as well, which I think in the long run definitely helped me. I would say the fact that no negativity was in my brain, so you just keep going forward. So for me, as such a sort of young boy, I didn't really understand how severe this situation was because you just think it's another illness, for example. You don't realise that you're going to end up spending a month and a bit in hospital, and the years after recovering. But I remember waking up in the hospital beds one day and overhearing my mum and dad talking to the doctor about penicillin, that I'll be on it till I was 21. And funny thing is, that actually did happen. So you never know what happens in life. So it did hit me like a ton of bricks, because then I remember sitting in my bed crying my eyes out, just the fact that you had to have that your whole life. So over time, my condition did get worse, which left me unable to walk, talk, eat, cycle, swim. You had to learn all the basic functions of life again as a young boy. So that was really difficult, especially the fact that from being such a young, healthy lad to not being able to do anything was not ideal, to say the least. But like I said, I don't remember the day-to-day struggles, just because it was never in my mind to think about all the negative stuff, which I've got to give a lot of praise to my mum and dad for, because as a young lad, that's all you want is, if my dad was in my ear saying how terrible this is, that's all you're going to think about when you're a wee guy. So, but later, after hearing all the stories from not even just my mum and dad, but other families as well, it was quite unimaginable how brutal and severe this was. But I always try and find the positive and enjoyable things to do in life, and at this moment in time, I am really happy. I've got university and got loads of things going as well. But I always remember this nurse, don't think he'll ever leave my brain. He was called Donald, and he left a great impact in my life. He had a positive attitude, and every time I saw him, lifted the room, which was good. But when I was starting to recover and get a wee bit better, I do remember that hospital toast to this day as well. I probably ate about 20 loaves a day when I was in the hospital, when I was getting better. But I always look forward to, they must have put some mad stuff in that butter, because that was amazing. But another thing at York Hall Hospital was the sensory room. It was this sort of playroom for children, where you could, because obviously at that point I couldn't really walk. It was sort of padding and different toys and stuff, and it made the day a wee bit better when you can go up there. I remember it was at the 7th floor, at the very back of the room, and that was really good. That just made the time not as bad, especially when you're going through the tough time.
You couldn't kick a ball, so he became the goalie, didn't he?
I remember that, could kick the ball. So and then also at the sensory room, at the window, you could see Ibrox Stadium, the home of Rangers, which, as a long lifetime Rangers fan, that was a bonus.
Thanks, Adrian.
So I'm just going to talk about my recovery. So throughout my recovery, I always believed that one day I would get better, even at the toughest moments where you can't walk, talk, eat without help with someone else. You always just got to have that fight that one day, even if it's tough right now, it will get better. Uh, One thing I always admire was every day I always was lucky to have my family and friends. Every day there was always another family member sitting there, and my big cousins and my wee cousins, for example, my aunties, uncles, and obviously mum, dad, and my sister. So that was a good thing. Definitely helped me going through the sort of tough time, not even just at hospital, after hospital as well, and post Sydenham. So that was definitely a good thing. Stayed in the hospital for 2 months, being in and out of hospital, because you always had appointments in primary school and even at high school as well, when you always had to go see the heart doctor, or uh, Dr. Morton or Dr. Zaberi. But that obviously, it's got to be done, and in the end, that all worked out for me. But this is the sort of wheelchair story my dad was mentioning earlier. Because at this point, I was in the wheelchair, and we went to Silverburn Shopping Centre in Glasgow, and I don't know, something must have switched in me, and just got out the wheelchair, stood up, and then started pushing my own wheelchair. So I think everyone at that point myself, I knew that I was going to be okay, and everything would be all right. So now age 19, I'm the fittest and most healthiest I've ever been. I've always been active my whole life, and even after getting Sydenham's, the doctors always loved the fact that I was so active doing stuff, because they said that definitely helped overcome the difficult obstacles. When you are fit and healthy, you're always active and out and about. And when you look back to when I was 7 and not being able to walk, talk, I have came a long way, and I'm proud of the fact that I have went through this, and ended up better because of it. So what I'm trying to say, there's always hope and a light at the end of the tunnel for all the families and stuff as well. And last week's slide, I think, of talking, what life is like today. So life is very good, I'll be honest. Very sociable, outgoing person. I play regular amateur football and I go to the gym, lifting weights 4 or 5 times a week. And also climb mountains whenever it's possible, which in Scotland isn't a whole deal of time. You only get about 6 months a year to climb mountains, but I love it. So staying active and fit my whole life definitely helped me in my recovery. Like I said before, I'm in second year at University of Strathclyde studying business, so really enjoying that as well. I did throughout school, I did struggle at times, but I was lucky that the schools I was at did give me sort of additional support, and that definitely helped me get to university. I got sort of extra time in exams, and because of my sort of movements, I got rest periods, which means when other people had to write non-stop, I could stop for a few minutes and then they stopped my time, which was a massive help for me as well. So I also have a girlfriend of 4 years called Josie, and she's been brilliant as well. And I told her about the when I was not well, and for her it was obviously difficult to understand because when you look at me now, it's like a completely different person back then. And I've got a great set of mates who were always there, and they're just the best. So this was Ben Nevis. Me, my dad, and a few of our mates, Alan, Matt, and Callum. We climbed Ben Nevis in 2012, which was 2 years after.
Yep.
2 years after Sydenham's, which quite surreal when you think about it. And at this time, it was a big monumentous achievement for both me and my dad. For people in Italy, Ben Nevis is the highest mountain in the UK, standing at 4,411 feet. I think it's 1,300 meters, and takes roughly about 6 hours to climb if you're not a complete beginner. For us, I think it was about 7 when we climbed it.
I vowed I'd never do it again, but yeah, came bouncing back. You did.
These are some photos from when me and my dad done Machu Picchu in Peru. It was the Inca Trail, which was an amazing experience. This was obviously, I think it was 2017, so years, so 7 years after it all happened. But it was a great experience, and I remember getting to the very top. We just done a 4-day trek, and when you got to Machu Picchu, the clouds were about, so you couldn't even get a great photo, which wasn't ideal. But it was a great experience, and the bottom left photo is me and a llama. I'll do this one.
Yeah, well, so we were hoping we're going to do what Callum's going to come on to in a minute, and during COVID, but obviously we couldn't, so the trip was cancelled. So what we decided to do is we had the time allocated, we would then do something in Scotland because you were able to move about. So we thought, right, well, let's do something pretty serious. So we decided we would climb the 11 mountains in Skye
4 days.
in 4 days. These are quite serious mountains, so we had a guide as well, which was definitely wise. This wasn't normal hill climbing, as you can see from the picture at the top right. That's what it's called, the inaccessible peak. So you're all roped up, and it's the hardest Munro in the whole of Scotland. This is
UK.
yeah. So it was a great experience. Adrenaline kicked in. Got up it. Vowed I'll never do that again. But it was a fantastic experience, and we had 4 great days. And Skye's a brilliant place. So we kind of got the bug for the adventures. So the next slide, Adrian. So yeah, as I say, we were hoping to do this a couple of years back. So we're going to be doing it this summer. Kilimanjaro is everybody's heard of because community relief team did it, and we're doing it actually with that group as well. So it's actually the highest freestanding mountain in the world, because obviously Everest and the likes and Himalayas is part of the range. So this will be a big challenge. The big challenge about this is just the altitude. What we experienced in Peru, that it was, we did see it actually, what the altitude can do. Callum woke up in the middle of the night, he was gasping for breath. So we're going to do this with an organised company as well, and we'll do it in the right pace. So that's our big adventure and challenge for this year.
Yeah, and when you also compare that to the average sort of Munro in Scotland, which is around 1,000 metres, this is 5 times the size, even 6 times the size of a normal mountain in Scotland. So I'm absolutely buzzing for it. I've been looking into it, and don't think my dad's been looking into it as much as me, but there's about 6 different sub-biomes climbing Kilimanjaro, which buzzing for it.
And the final slide.
So this is my long-term life goal, which is to climb Mount Everest, which obviously is the world's highest and definitely one of the hardest. There's maybe another one, K2 in Pakistan, but if you think about it, that would be the normal as well. So I've always been interested and enjoyed outdoor challenges and adventures, and looking forward to do Kilimanjaro this year. But I was looking into it, with only 6,000 people successfully climbing to the summit of Everest, it's only an exclusive club, and hopefully one day I'll be at the top of that with my Rangers top. From there. So I want to inspire everyone, even when you have sort of tough time and you don't know when it will ever end or how it will get better. There's always difficult times, but you always bounce back from it. I don't know if anyone else even would remotely want to climb Mount Everest with Sydenhams, but my goal is to be the first person to climb Mount Everest with Sydenhams. That's us. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone. I don't think I'll be joining them, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you. So interested.